Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or find a way to lose. Now listen, man, Keith Thurman, I've said this before, was one of my favorite fighters. I still like Keith Thurman. I understand his reason for being inactive when it comes to his family and making sure his wife is comfortable, having kids, and making the family the priority. That's a beautiful thing. But at the end of the day, Keith Thurman wasn't so vocal about fighting Spence, fighting Crawford when he was the champ. Now, it's amazing how the tables have turned. Because Keith Thurman now seems like he wants to fight everybody. But I'm going to tell you, there's something about Keith Thurman that I've noticed and I think is rubbing people a little bit wrong. Because it's one thing to duck a fight. It's one thing to put duck sauce on the fried rice. But when you come out here trying to write off a fighter's achievements, I think that's a foul. And Keith Thurman is coming off like he's writing off the achievements of Terence Crawford and also a little bit of Errol Spence. We know when Keith Thurman was fighting, especially during that time period, the Danny Garcia, Sean Porter, that Keith Thurman, right? Even when he fought Collazo, took the body shot and everything, and they got that one Mexican fighter, man, tall, lanky guy, man, Soto Caras, right? He gave Keith Thurman hell. Keith Thurman knocked him out. But that Keith Thurman was a problem. And I've always said, I think that Keith Thurman, me personally, I think he would have beat Errol Spence. I'm not talking about the Errol Spence that fought Terence Crawford. I'm talking about Errol Spence. I think Keith Thurman would have beat him. That Keith Thurman. And I think that Keith Thurman would have had a good chance of beating Terence Crawford because of his movement and his power. But where we are now, Keith Thurman's doing a lot of interviews, and I just don't understand what his end goal is. Of course, I can assume he wants to get a fight with Terence Crawford because he got, basically it's a 4-for-1 deal there. You get 4 belts for 1 fight, and that's what Keith Thurman's looking at. I'm not so sure Keith Thurman really, I don't know if he wants the belts or if he just wants a payday. Because he had opportunity to fight Crawford before, and he didn't take the fight. Something about money. Keith Thurman wanted like $10 million or something ridiculous. But now if he was to fight Crawford now, I don't think he would get anything close to that. So I don't understand why he would want to fight him now when he's not going to get anything close to what he was asking for initially. But at the end of the day, he went on record and said Crawford didn't beat up a real champion. Everybody knows that if you put Thurman in the ring on that night, Thurman wipes that Spence, that Errol. He gets wiped by many people. A lot of people know Thurman against that Spence, the same scenario. Crawford didn't beat a real champion in Spence. Now look, to that I gotta say, hold your horses. Let's not take it to the stupid. He beat a real champion. Now I'm not saying I'll say this. In that first round looked like the Errol Spence that we've grown to love and grown to expect when he steps in the ring. That was vintage Errol Spence. I'm not talking about when he walked to the ring, when he was standing there waiting for them to announce his name and the expression on his face. I'm talking about when that bell rang. Errol Spence was doing what he said he's going to do. He was stepping. Second round, Errol Spence was stepping. But things changed when Crawford started to put a bit more leather on Errol Spence. Then the knockdown, and after that, it was all one-sided. So I think we got to give Terence Crawford credit for that win. But as far as Errol Spence, as far as Keith Thurman, listen, he wasn't trying to fight anybody when he had those titles. Even when they were offering him money, big money they were talking about, he just didn't want to do it. So right now, what's the reality of him making a fight with Terence Crawford? What's the reality of him making a fight with Errol Spence? What's the reality of Keith Thurman ever getting an opportunity to become a champion at 147 again? I'm going to tell y'all right now, I don't think it's going to happen for a while. You take a look at his best shot at getting a fight for a championship was when he was ranked number 1 by the WBC. Well, they've turned the boot sideways and shot for his hole, and it went in. And Keith Thurman is very uncomfortable with his position. Matter of fact, across all the sanctioning bodies, aside from the WBA, Keith Thurman really doesn't pop up on their ranking stack. The WBA has him ranked number 3. I think they have something brewing over there as far as what they want to do with Keith Thurman and giving him an opportunity at a crack at that WBA strap. But at the end of the day, when you have fighters who are just sitting on the sideline, not being active, and just criticizing active fighters' accomplishments, I personally think no matter how great you are, I think you've lost your right to talk, to voice an opinion. As a matter of fact, I think you have no voice anymore. And that's honestly how I feel Keith Thurman is right now. He's doing really good in these interviews. He has a whole lot to say. And he's still talking in third person. Keith, one time this, one time that, and one time and if you got to get by me and beat a true champion. And hey, look, the ship has sailed on Keith Thurman. It's bad when you can't go. It's so bad. Keith Thurman goes out to fights. Before Keith Thurman used to go to fights, people used to converge on him, want autographs, want pictures. Now, Keith Thurman go out to a fight. Some people still converge on him, want pictures, want an autograph, but then the others converge on him, and they're totally disrespectful to him. Insults him, calling him a duck, saying all kind of horrible things to him, calling him out of his name. I tell you what, that can't feel good. I don't care who you are. That can't feel good to go from being where everyone gravitated towards you and showed you love to now you don't know if it's friend or foe coming to you. And I personally think Errol, I'm messing up the names. I personally think Keith Thurman just exacerbates his condition and his place with the boxing fans. He's got to understand the boxing community is not dumb. Now, I'm not saying Keith Thurman can't scrap. I'm telling you he can scrap. But at the end of the day, if you have a vehicle and you're not driving it, I don't care if you have a 2023 X7 and then in your car you got a 2005 Honda Pilot, but you're driving that 2005 Honda Pilot and that 2023 X7 has sat there for months, I guarantee you get a better performance out of that 2005 Honda Pilot than that 2023 X7. You've got to be active, got to be moving about, got to be in the ring fighting. And Keith Thurman's just not doing that. But he sure has a lot to say about Errol Spence. A whole lot to say about Terence Crawford. Let me tell y'all something. Terence Crawford has made just about every fighter he fought look less than average. There may have been a couple spots and fights where some fighters made Crawford look human. That's for a very, very short moment of time in the fight where somebody may land a good shot, make a few rounds interesting. But at the end of the day, Crawford starts to figure things out, and he ends up making fighters look less than average. But that doesn't mean that these guys he's fighting, that they're not real champions. It just means that Crawford is that good. Now, Errol Spence is elite. I'll keep saying that. Crawford's just more elite. And to be quite frank with you, the more Keith Thurman talks, And I still like Keith Thurman. I find it a little irksome that it's more like taking jabs at people. I would really like to see Errol Spence fight Keith Thurman more than ever now, just to see what happens in that fight. Because if Errol Spence comes and he just destroys Keith Thurman, well then, one, we'll finally get Keith Thurman to stop talking all crazy about Errol Spence and these fighters, and two, it'll speak volumes about Terence Crawford, right? Irregardless of the weight, it's going to speak volumes. Because I tell you what, you guys remember when Terence Crawford fought Jeff Horn? Jeff Horn beat Pacquiao, and then Crawford beat Jeff Horn. And so some people could say that Terence Crawford beat the man who beat the man. But, sometimes it doesn't really work out to your benefit because somehow Horn beat Pacquiao and Crawford didn't get any credit. But some people felt that Pacquiao actually beat Horn and that Horn was a weak champion. But that being said, with Keith Thurman, that's not the case. I think if Spence or Crawford were to fight Thurman and beat him, although he's been inactive, I think they'll be given more credit than Crawford was given for fighting Jeff Horn. And that's just a fact. But that being said, let's see if Keith Thurman, and being this super vocal as he's been in multiple interviews, let's see if that gets him a step closer to fighting a guy like Crawford or Spence or one of these big names. I'm going to tell you this right now. Keith Thurman's been offered fights. He's just turning them down. Why? I don't know. But I know he's turning them down. But he's doing a whole lot of talking now. So maybe he's trying to seal the deal. Seal the deal on a 4 belts for 1 fight situation. But I'm just not sure that's what Terence Crawford's going to allow. I'm not sure that's what Errol Spence is going to allow. We got to wait and see, because Keith Thurman may not get his way. He may continue sitting on the sidelines. Because remember, when Keith Thurman was in his prime, him, Danny Garcia, Sean Porter, Adrian Broner, them guys were over there with Al Heyman on PBC. Them guys were getting paid $5, $6, $7 million a fight, sometimes more than that, and getting paid some money under the table, stuff y'all don't know about. That's a fact. So Keith Thurman has money. That could be what it is. He could be suffering from that silk pajama syndrome. Man, waking up feeling good, nice pajamas, good relationship with his wife. I think he has 2 beautiful daughters. Who wants to get out there and put in that road work? But he'll talk. That being said, let's see what I'm more curious about Keith Thurman's next move than Crawford and Spence rematch. I'm gonna be honest with you. I really want to see who is Keith Thurman for all this talking he's doing. Who is he gonna come back and fight? That's what I want to see. And to be honest with you, no one knows who he's coming back to fight. But he's supposed to be trying to fight this year and fight 2-3 times next year in an exhibition in 2024 as well. So he's looking to go the exhibition route as well. The only way I think he can get himself involved in the exhibition circuit is if he gets active and gets some big wins, especially by knockout. Then, things will start bubbling up for him. But right now, I'm not sure what direction Keith Thurman's going to go. Anyway, y'all keep cool. Keith Thurman needs to chill with writing off fighters' achievements, because if you really feel that Errol Spence isn't a top performer, Terence Crawford isn't a top performer, I'll tell you what. You go out there, man, see what deal they're willing to give you if they'll fight you. And you go out in there and get in the ring and show everybody. But the thing is, I deep down think Keith Thurman is talking the talk, but I don't think he really wants to walk the walk. I truly don't. But time will tell. Y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans. Thurman needs to chill with the disrespect. Because one thing about Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, they came there to fight. And Earl Spence, although he got the short end of the stick, he was trying his best right up to the end when they stopped that fight. So I don't think anybody has the right to disrespect Earl Spence and disrespect Crawford. Even if Keith Thurman had good intentions of what he was saying, sometimes, you just need to listen a whole lot and talk very little. And Keith Thurman needs to learn that quality. That being said, y'all keep cool. I'm in the breeze.